Hmm. Hello and welcome to our podcast. I'm Dani, and today Great.com talks with Normalize, the communications manager of Rainbow Refugee in Canada. If you haven't heard of it, they work to promote safe, equitable migration and communities of belonging for people fleeing sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, and HIV plus persecution. If you're new here to this podcast, remember to press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Now, hi Norma and welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to talk to you today, Norma. And let's learn more about you and your organization, right? I always like to begin here with history. I feel it's always a good place to get us started. And I have a feeling that your story and Rainbow Refugee story kind of intertwine, right? So, how did the organization begin? What motivated it? And what made your path cross with them?
Yeah, of course. Thank you again for having me here today. So Rainbow Refugee, as you mentioned, started in the year 2000. We've been around for almost 25 years, with the mission and vision of creating safer, equitable migrations for people fleeing SOGI-esque persecution. It all started when the person who created Rainbow Refugee, Chris Morrissey, came back to Canada with her partner, and her partner was American and she couldn't work here. So Chris wanted to sponsor her to get a work permit and be able to work in Canada. However, same-sex relationships or same-sex marriage was not legal back then, back in the 90s. And that's when Chris started the advocacy and the activism that she did with a group of her friends and people from the community. And then in the year 2000, they saw the need with the internet and everything happening around them. They saw the need to support people who are reaching out to them. And it was initially for people who are already outside of Canada who want their partners to move to Canada and to be here with them. That's how everything started. And for 18 years, the organization was volunteer based. All of the people who were working at the organization were volunteers. And then in 2000, we started hiring, in 2020, we started hiring more people. And now we are an organization of 13 staff, 11 of us of people with lived experience, either through immigration or being refugees, and all of us are queers. So this is the history, briefly the history of the organization. And the first time I heard about Rainbow Refugee, I was still back home in my home country in the Middle East. And then I knew that I couldn't be there because I'm a trans person. I knew I couldn't continue my life back home because I'm a trans person and because it's illegal to be trans. So I had to escape my country. And then when I left Lebanon, I came to Canada on a tourist visa, and I immediately went to Rainbow Refugee and asked for their support because I knew they support inland refugees as well. And the term inland refugee is someone who is a refugee in the country. So I came here as a tourist, and then I chose to stay here because I can't go back because of my gender identity. And it started in early 2019 when I joined as a member and then as a volunteer. And in August 2020, I was hired as a full-time staff, and I'm still with the organization now.
I I loved your story, Norma, and I think when we have been through these challenges, right, and then we are in the position to help others going through the same processes, is a completely different perspective. I feel like we are more able to understand what they're going through, and sometimes feels hard to put in words what we are suffering. So having someone that you don't really have to put in words, you just need to say, I'm struggling. And they know it's so important. So I'm actually pretty happy to hear that you really joined Rainbow Refugee and you're able to help more people now. Um, Now, help
Thank
us
you.
understand a little bit more about what are the specific challenges that a queer or someone that is fleeing sexual orientation persecution uh, face when they arrive in a new country, and in this case, face when they arrive in Canada. Because I could point out a couple of things from what you said, but I believe there is more behind it. So what goes on? What is the process like?
Yeah. Um, all refugees now around the world, we have around 114 million refugees who left their home countries because of persecution or because of war or natural disasters. And to be more specific with LGBTQI plus refugees, now around the world we have around 114 million refugees who left their home countries because of persecution based on sexual orientation, gender identity, or HIV status, or because of war or because of natural disasters. To be more specific with LGBTQI refugees, the challenges that they face are with their intersecting identities when it comes to being part of the queer community, wanting to live their life as part of the queer community, but at the same time, we all come with a lot of backgrounds. We all have different backgrounds, and we carry a lot of cultures in our backgrounds and a lot of identities as well. So with the intersecting forms that will create more persecution, specifically towards LGBTQI refugees. And the intersecting identities and persecution, once the refugees move to Canada, they have to face a different form of struggle, which is the integration in the society, knowing how to where to find themselves in the community and how to navigate the system. The system that we have now is a system created for people who speak English or they have their language, the first language as English. But a lot of refugees that we support, they don't speak the language. They have different first languages, and sometimes that can be a barrier in their integration in the society as well.
So what we could think from this is there are sort of layers, right? So we have first the barrier of understanding your situation and being able to flee. Then you get into a new place and there's this whole new system of rules. Then we have language and community and all of that. So how are you guys able to help right now? What are the programs or services that Rainbow Refugee offers?
One of our missions is that we say that we don't help and we don't bring, we only support. What we do is we support the refugees that we work with. They help themselves by reaching out to us, by finding us. And what we do is we support them. We support them navigate the system. Currently at Rainbow Refugee, we have three big departments. We have the private sponsorship program, we have the inland program, and the Time to Thrive program. The private sponsorship program, we work with people from the community. They form circles, we call them circles of hope, where they can gather together and sponsor refugees to move here, sponsor refugees who are outside of their home countries to move to Canada. We support the circles of hope by submitting the applications to the government, fundraising a certain amount of money to support the refugees for a full year after they arrive in Canada. And then once the refugees are here or the newcomers are here, we support them with the settlement. We provide settlement support as well. That's with the private sponsorship program. With the inland program, the inland means inside of Canada, inland. And I'm an inland refugee. So what we do in the inland program, system navigation, supporting them to legal aid, finding a lawyer, supporting them through the hearing process, providing letters of support, and a lot of activities in between to prepare them, to prepare refugees for their hearings and to prepare refugees on how to submit their applications and how to submit evidence with their claim. And we have a big program called Time to Thrive. Now that you are in Canada, either private sponsored or inland refugee, it's time for you to thrive. It's time for you to find your own communities, find your own group of people. We provide psychosocial support within the Time to Thrive program. We have a part-time counselor who was a refugee and sponsored by Rainbow Refugee and came back to give to the community through Rainbow Refugee. We have housing advocacy program. We don't provide housing because the housing crisis in Vancouver is big. We don't provide, unfortunately, at the moment, we don't provide housing. However, we provide advocacy. We can support the refugees in talking to building managers, giving them letters of recommendations, or helping them find an apartment. And within the program, we have as well community engagement and belonging program, which is responsible for all the activities, all the fun activities, all the cool stuff. Every Wednesday, we have a social cafe where members can just come to the space that we have. We call it the Rainbow Lounge. They can come to the Rainbow Lounge and get to know other refugees, meet other refugees, listen to music, and play some fun games. We organize activities, we organize workshops, um, tango classes, English classes, just karaoke night. And of course, we organize Ida Hobbit, which is the International Day Against Homophobia, Transphobia, and Biphobia, every year in May 17. And the Community Engagement and Belonging Program supports the Pride work that we do and our presence during the Pride Week in Vancouver.
Well, it sounds really, really fun. I gotta say that I got a bit hyped with the tango lessons.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna look a bit more on this side because every every interview since we started this LGBTQ plus focused series on the podcast, this aspect of building community has appeared so often, and which is such an importance. And I feel like in this case, when we're talking about building your new life, right, in a place where you know no one, this feels like a huge part of supporting, using your word, supporting people, supporting everyone that comes to Canada. So let's talk about this a little bit more. So what role does this community building play in your work? How important it is to you?
It is very important, to be honest with you. It's very important to have a group of people around you who speak their language, look like you, and can understand your background. I'm a big believer that there's no work for us without us, no work for queer and trans refugees without queer and trans refugees. That's why I'm working with Rainbow Refugee. When I joined Rainbow Refugee, I wanted to see people like me. The people who would support me, I wanted them to look like me. And that's why I came back and I'm here to do the work with my colleagues. As I mentioned, 11 out of 13 staff, we are refugees and immigrants, and we we had to escape our home countries because of persecution of who we are. So it takes a lot of um, it's it's not just a job for us, it's a mission. It's not just something that we do for a living, it's who we are at the end of the day. And here's the intersectionality as well of our identities as people working at Rainbow Refugee and supporting the community, how we can make the distinction between our private lives and the work at Rainbow Refugee. And I found my community through Rainbow Refugee, and I'm still part of this community. 6 years in Vancouver, I'm still part of this community. It's not just for us to hang out or for us to go out and have fun. It's more a sense of family. Chosen family is very big and very important for queer refugees. And it is who we go back to rely on, ask questions, seek information and seek validation sometimes from, and just share life with. We had to leave everything behind. We had to leave our lives behind, and we deserve to have our communities around us.
And that is so, so powerful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. Now, Norma, let's look a bit to the future, right? We talked about history, we talked about present days, but what are you guys looking for on the next years? What are your future goals?
My dream is one day we won't need Rainbow Refugee anymore, honestly. My dream is one day we won't need any organization to support refugees because all of us will have the right to live where we want to live and to exist in our spaces. The work that we're doing we're still growing, we're still learning a lot. We're still a very small organization. I'm hoping that in the future we can have more services, we can have more programs to support more refugees and to be able to support refugees to move here faster. The pathway to move to Canada sometimes can take a long time, can take up to 3-4 years before the refugees are even here. And the wait that they go through outside of Canada and in the host country can be difficult, can be challenging because They don't have rights to work. Sometimes they don't have rights to rent an apartment. They have to hide. They have to hide who they are, even outside of their home country until they move to Canada. So my hopes for the future and the goals for the future to be able to support more refugees to move here, to work with the government and to work with organizations across the country to be able to sponsor more queer refugees, queer and trans refugees to move to Canada faster.
Oh, I actually like this vision. And I think this is a shared goal of many organizations, right? To run out of business, to not be needed anymore. So
Yes.
yeah, this is really something to look up to. Um, and now, Norman, to help you guys expand your work, what are the best ways for everyone listening or watching this conversation right now to get involved with Rainbow Refugee?
So what people can do is they can visit our website, rainbowrefugee.com, visit our social media platforms. On the website, they can know more about the work that we do, how they can volunteer with us. We're always looking for volunteers to either sponsor refugees to come here or to support the work that we do on the ground. And they can always donate to the work that we do. We rely a lot on donations. We rely a lot on individuals who are there to support organizations like Rainbow Refugee. Follow us on social media, get to know the work that we do closely. We do our best to post all the activities and events that we do on a weekly basis on our social media platforms, and talk to your friends about Rainbow Refugee. Talk to your families about Rainbow Refugee. Talk to your colleagues about Rainbow Refugee. Bring the conversation to the front. Bring the refugee conversation to the front. Refugees are still facing a lot of persecution on a daily basis, and the more we talk about issues that refugees are facing, the more we can, the more audience we can reach, and the more support we can provide.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Norma, just a quick question here. If anyone is listening to us right now and might need assistance, needs support, the website is also the best way to reach you guys.
Yes, people can reach out to us and send us emails. We receive hundreds of emails every week from people outside of Canada asking for support. The email address is info@rainbowrefugee.ca, info@rainbowrefugee.ca. We have a triage team that goes through the emails and filters all the requests and send them to the correct departments. We make sure to respond to all the emails within 5 business days. So all the refugees that will reach out to us and the people who are looking for support who will reach out to us, they will receive an answer from us within a week. However, we have a very long wait list for refugees and queer refugees seeking support from outside of Canada because we're still a small organization. So my request would be just be patient with us while we're getting to your request.
But I think it's just to have you guys as a possible source of assistance. It is something to look forward to. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of this and joining us today, Norma. This was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, and hopefully we can talk more about Rainbow Refugee in the future.
Yes, absolutely. And well, for everyone listening or watching us right now, we're going to add the link to their website in the description of this episode. So it's super easy to get in touch with them, either to help, especially, I would say, to help. And thank you also for joining us today for one more conversation. I hope you have enjoyed. And if you did, remember to press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Share this link with your friends, with your family, with everyone that you feel like can profit from this conversation, that can learn from what we talked here right now. And well, that also helps the algorithms to understand that this is an important conversation. And then we can spread the word about the importance of Rainbow Refugee. Check their page, as I said, help out if you can. And I see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.